Welcome to the Swiss panel to discuss the topic of AI in Switzerland, a high-quality ecosystem for your growth. I welcome to this panel experts from Switzerland around. That's Sirpa Zimal she is Director of Investment Promotion at Switzerland Global Enterprise. I welcome also Dr. Andrea Emilio Rizzoli. He's professor on the SUPSI, the Dalith Institute of Artificial Intelligence in the Ticino, that's the Italian part of Switzerland. Welcome. And also welcome to Umberto Michelucci. He is head of AI, Center of Excellence by Helsana, that's our insurance company in Switzerland. He's also a keynote speaker and author and Google developer expert in machine learning. And last but not least, I welcome Dalith Steiger. She's co-founder of SwissCognitive and thought leader in AI and keynote speaker and one of the top AI digital shaper in Switzerland. We would like to give you an overview of what's going on in AI in Switzerland. So for this, we will explain you the landscape of AI, university landscape, as well also startups and how they're organized in Switzerland, AI corporate labs in Switzerland, how they work together from the academia side together with the private sector, and as well also very important how you can benefit from our effort to join foreign corporates to Switzerland, how we can support them. And it's very important for you also to see how this works in Switzerland and how we have a focus on these topics also for, special also for South Africa and for Africa overall. So for this, I would like to hand over first to have introduce themselves, each other. And I would like to hand over first to Sirpa from the Switzerland Global Enterprise. May you start.
So hello everyone, really a pleasure to be here. So my name is Sirpa Zimal. I'm with Switzerland Global Enterprise, the Director for Investment Promotion. At Switzerland Global Enterprise, we are mandated by the Swiss government for investment promotion and export promotion. What that means, we help international companies that are looking to evaluate Switzerland as a business location. We help in that process and in the due diligence. And once they're interested and settled that yes, Switzerland is the location, we help with the whole implementation of their project.
Thanks, that sounds very practical. We're coming back to you and how this really works then in detail. But first, I would like to ask Andrea Emilio from the Institute of Dalith to introduce himself.
Yes, hello. I'm very pleased to be here. And I am the ad interim director of the Dalith Institute for Artificial Intelligence Studies, which is a research institute, a joint research institute of SUPSI, the University of Applied Sciences of Southern Switzerland, and Università di Lugano, Università della Svizzera Italiana, which is based in Lugano. And we are a research institute that was founded more than 25 years ago. And we are, fortunately for us, one of the leading AI institutes, I can humbly say, at world level because of the quality of our researchers. And we'll talk about our institute later on, and I'm really delighted to be here with you today.
Thanks, Andrea. That's great to hear more from your work and what you do on a global scale. Coming to you, Umberto, please introduce yourself, what you do by Helsana, and what's your work there.
Thank you for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to be here. So my name is Umberto Michelucci. As one can guess from my name, I'm Italian originally, but I'm lucky enough to live here since almost 18 years now. I'm actually active on different fronts, especially so in artificial intelligence in Helsana. I'm actually heading the new Center of Excellence, where we actually do research in different fields from text mining to cybersecurity. but I'm also lucky enough that I know the research side, so I'm working with several universities, so I can actually watch the entire spectrum of what's happening from university to actually companies, and we work also with startups at Tatsana, so we do experiments. So I see also small companies, and it's an interesting landscape that I'm lucky enough to be able to see and work with every day.
Thanks a lot, Umberto. May Dalith, co-founder of SwissCognitive. I'm also a co-founder of SwissCognitive. Tell us what you do with SwissCognitive, Dalith.
Thanks a lot. First of all, it's also my great pleasure to be with you guys here and to show what Switzerland has and unlock the potential between Africa and Switzerland. SwissCognitive, the global AI hub, we are a network that shares, connects, and unlocks the potential of AI. And driven by our passion for cognitive technology, as well as our commitment for our country, Switzerland, we see a great chance and a great opportunity for the young and coming generation. Something that may really shows what we're doing and where our heart is being is when people think about AI, they mostly think about robots, devices, algorithms. But when we think about AI, we mostly think about how we can benefit by the cognitive technology for the humankind. Now, what we're doing here with SwissCognitive, we're trying to unlock the potential to onboard all the stakeholders in the ecosystem to benefit from all these great opportunities to support the human, especially in health, and moreover, actually, about all the 17 sustainable goals from the UN.
Great, Dalith. Thanks for this introduction. What you do with SwissCognitive, or what we do with SwissCognitive. Let's jump to some details that could be really interesting for you guys, and how this landscape of AI looks like in Switzerland. So we have university on the one hand, we have AI labs from corporate sides, we have AI labs in academia, we have startup scenery around many topics, all in data science and AI and cognitive technology, of course. So spread around Switzerland. I would like to start with you, Andrea. May give you an overview about the academia side in Switzerland. Where are some of the top hotspots that we should know about?
Yes, maybe it's worth spending a couple of words about how the university system is organized in Switzerland. We have two large polytechnic universities, the federal institutes in Zurich and Lausanne. And they are the top-ranked universities in the world, actually. I think ETH in Zurich is in the top 10, and EPFL in Lausanne is following quite closely. Besides this, there are a number of universities in the different cantons, and also the University of Applied Sciences. While the universities and the federal polytechnics tend to focus on mostly on basic research and fundamental research, the University of Applied Sciences do focus on applied research and technology transfer. This gives quite an advantage to the Swiss system because it enables the seamless transfer of research from the ground to the application through this very flexible system. How AI works in this system? Well, it is distributed and federated, as Switzerland is a federation. Also, the system of research in Switzerland is quite federated, and we stand on equal footing in the different institutions, in the federal polytechnics, in the University of Applied Sciences, and in the universities. We in Tessin are in a special situation because the university system developed quite recently. Tessin is the Italian-speaking part of Switzerland, as you can tell from my accent. And the Dalith Institute actually predates the university in Ticino and also the University of Applied Sciences. We were founded in 1982 by an Italian philanthropist, Angelo Dalle Molle, that gave the name of his name to the institutes that he founded, one in the Italian-speaking part and two in the French-speaking part. And all these institutes were active in doing basic and fundamental research in different fields of AI. And we developed a lot actually along the years, because we started from traditional rule-based systems that were expert systems in the late 80s, in the 90s. And in the same time, one of our researchers, now Professor Jürgen Schmidhuber, developed one of the fundamental deep learning algorithms, the LSTM, long-term short memory. And this algorithm is now at the basis of most voice recognition systems that you can find in your mobile phones and everywhere, basically. And so this shows how even a relatively quite small research institute can make an impact at the global level. One of our former PhD students, Shane Legg, went on to found what is now part of Google, DeepMind, which is now employing more than 100 researchers doing further developments in AI. And we keep developing applications in a number of AI areas. So this is just to give you a perspective of how the Swiss system at the university level favors the development of research at AI. So you can find some hotspots, coming back to your original question, Andy, in Zurich, for instance, and in Lausanne, but also at the universities in here in Tessin, in Lugano, but also in Bern and in the University of Applied Sciences in Zurich again. So it is difficult to place some specific labels around Switzerland, because there are a number of different research groups that are very active and at the top.
I love this, and I would like to hand over to Umberto and give him the question around how we use in a startup scenery this environment of the best university worldwide, how we use this and how we combine these forces. May Umberto, you can give here an answer of the landscape of AI startups.
So I think that there are several advantages of how a university works in Switzerland. And one, as Professor Rizzoli was saying, is that you have this kind of applied university. For example, for startup, there is a huge amount of funds and grants that can be given to a partnership between companies and this applied science university that kind of support research, so that the university get the money to fund the research and the company get the results of the research to further develop the products, for example. They're called like InnoSwiss project, and I'm sure Professor Rizzoli knows very well what I'm talking about, where actually a company has to pay a very small amount of money, like around 10% of the amount of money that is required for a research project. The rest has to put, of course, time and effort and maybe materials, but the research is done by those university, and those projects are really successful in helping like startups, for example, doing research and developing new products or new methods and so on, for example. So regarding like those very top university like the ETH and the EPFL in Lausanne, I mean, they're of course like more like, it's like when we're talking about the MIT or Stanford, but what's, for example, nice is that the price of education is of course not what is in the US. And many startups very often needs to learn new things when they start like developing new products or new technologies. And for example, just to make an example, at the ETH, you can access all the courses as like just without getting the credits, but like for 100 francs a semester. And so there are like so many ways for a startup to profit from such an environment, apart from the programs of like spin-offs and grants and stuff. Like really like the number of people and experience that you find in Switzerland is really accessible to also small startups without big amount of money. So that's, I think, it's a very important aspect of the landscape here.
Thanks a lot, Umberto. I would like to end up the landscape with a question to Dalith UN in Geneva around why has Geneva moved all the activity for AI to Switzerland. Dalith, maybe you can have here some insights.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that makes our DNA in Switzerland is that we are global citizens. We have a very sustainable long-term way of thinking. And the neutrality that we have is something that is very well and the world likes to see that. We're most probably the only country who can negotiate with every country, every culture, and every mentality out there because we are neutral, because we have this attitude. And one of the things is that brings us to what the UN decided to bring everything to Geneva, the whole policy making, because it is a great place to act from here, having this neutral place. Besides that, we have, as all the others mentioned already, a great ecosystem in Switzerland. Just to mention a few numbers, I mean, we do have like over 10 global tech AI labs. We have over 100 global recognized AI experts, I mean, world leading. We have much more than 50 AI initiatives. We have a lot of universities with AI labs, corporate AI labs, AI startups. We have more than 200 in the meantime. For such a small country, this is a great number, and we're working on that to increase that. And besides that, we have above 100 AI-forced global enterprises. And the whole ecosystem that Switzerland gives, it's actually also kind of a playground where we can try certain things. And one of the things that I would like to emphasize a little bit, and perhaps Umberto, you can even do it better than me, is the PPP, the private-public partnerships that we do. I think this is also something that shows the potential and the work that is being done.
Thanks, Dalith, for this rounding up this landscape. And we're coming back to this PPP questions, how we work together from academia with private. But first, I would like to, this sounds great, all these numbers. The question is really how foreign corporates from foreign countries can join and how they can join. And the question also to Sirpa is, why should you establish an AI lab in Switzerland? Why should you establish your AI lab in Switzerland? And Sirpa, maybe you can have here more details from your side, from the Switzerland Global Enterprise side.
So why, if you're an African multinational company is looking to establish or open a new AI lab, why should you look at Switzerland? Or also if you're a growing AI service provider or startup, why should you look at Switzerland as a location? I can give you, basically I can echo what Dalith, Umberto and Andrea just mentioned before, but I can give you 3 good reasons why you should think about Switzerland. So the first is really the fact that Switzerland is a playground for AI, as Dalith said as well. In Switzerland, you have a lot of multinational companies that have their regional or global headquarters on high densities or in really close proximity. And those companies, corporates, can be potential partners for you to collaborate. In emerging technology, it's really important. There's a lot of collaboration. I think we're going to talk about it a little later, some more. So you can co-create and collaborate on your AI project. In Switzerland, the multinationals may say, we can test that product or that service in one of our divisions somewhere. So you have all the decision makers in Switzerland in close proximity. So I think that's a major point why to choose or why to look at Switzerland. And then the second reason I think is really Switzerland. It's a great location to test, validate, and develop your product. So you have the whole interdisciplinary landscape in research. So it's not only AI, it's not only blockchain. We have a long tradition of life sciences, engineering skills here, and that all plays into each other for new AI applications. And I think Switzerland is and as Andrea also said, fast tech transfers. I think that's another reason why to think why to look at Switzerland, and especially for the European market. So if you have new products or new services that you want to test in AI for the European market, that's something you can do in Switzerland. And then I think the last reason is really Swiss quality, and now also resilience, because with the pandemic we're going through now, it has been shown that resilience is really important in a location. And Switzerland has been ranked by Forbes as one of the most resilient economies. But not only resilience, but also Swiss quality. We Swiss don't like to brag, but we do develop high quality products. And I've heard from many AI experts that Swiss have high quality algorithm, high quality software. So whatever we develop here is being developed here is of high quality. And also with that, I think goes hand in hand that our government authorities are very business friendly or business minded in all the regulations they apply. Switzerland has a tech neutral approach. So they're trying really to regulate emerging technologies within the existing law and not coming up with new law just for specific technology like AI or blockchain, also like other jurisdictions are trying to do. So this gives companies, or if you're a company looking at location, this gives you the legal certainty to plan and to execute your AI project. So yeah, to summarize, I think it's a great playground for emerging tech. It's a good location to test, validate new products for the European market, and you find the quality and resilience here in Switzerland. Maybe just to give examples of companies that have established here, Google is probably the most prominent one. They came here 2014. And now, in the meantime, they have the largest engineering center outside of the US in Switzerland.
Thanks. Thanks, Sirpa. I would like to go first to Andrea now. May Andrea give us an example of this, what Sirpa now mentioning, how we work together and to establish such AI labs in Switzerland. How you work together as from an academia side. May you give us an example how this works?
The best known program that was also mentioned by Umberto before is the InnoSwiss program that is supported by the federal government. And this, thanks to this program, a company who wishes to join forces with a research institution just needs to pay for its own work, because all the work of the research institute is paid by subsidies from the Confederation. This allows to develop pre-competitive products that can be then industrialized by the company. This subsequent stage can also be done in collaboration with academia, but typically the industrialization is done by the industry themselves. But the research and development part that is often very critical for startups and for companies that don't have the forces to pay their own R&D team is fundamental. And thanks to this instrument that is funded by the Confederation, we have many collaborations that are now spanning more than 20 years with successful enterprises all over Switzerland. We are running only at our institute at least 10 InnoSwiss projects in parallel. And you can imagine how many at the University of Applied Sciences in southern Switzerland and how many at the Swiss level. So there is an opportunity for all the companies to take advantage of the last and foremost the technologies that are being developed on the research side and to port them to industry. And as Sirpa said, we can do this in a number of domains because we have the here in Switzerland, we have advanced mechanical companies, we have microelectronics, we have life sciences, we have transportation systems, we have also public companies that are interested in developing new services for the citizen with living labs and so on. So we can span basically the whole range of application domains. And this is, I think, a situation that is really enviable from this type of perspective.
Thanks, Andrea. That's really kind that you explained this, and it's very important to know that AI is for us kind of basic infrastructure technology to provide all the other industry like pharma, medicine, biotech, or robots, drones, all the technology that we can drive them with new technology coming from nice talents and experts from academia like Andrea is. So
maybe
sorry,
maybe one thing to be mentioned is the fact that intellectual property is also managed by this type of agreement with the company, so that the company can retain the IP rights on specific parts that have been developed in cooperation with them. So they are not cooperating with academia and putting everything in the open domain, open source domain. I mean, this is very well regulated, and it is very advantageous for the companies that want to protect their IP.
Thanks a lot, Andrea. So we're coming already to the end. I would like to have a short answer from all of you. Maybe we start with Dalith. What's the main advantage? Just give us a brief from your own thought. What's the main advantage from Switzerland side to South African corporates if they would like to join us?
Besides all the great benefits that you've heard about Switzerland, what we can bring from a technical and an economical situation, I would say one of the great benefits is obviously if you want to come to Switzerland, establish your company and establish your family here. We have great education, great universities, a great possibility to learn any kind of job, and this is very unique in Switzerland. You can send your kids to school without taking them by car. We're safe, we're sustainable, we have stability, eco and political situations here in Switzerland, and it's just an absolutely beautiful country.
You have lots of co-working spaces, for example. If you want to establish a startup and you don't want to pay rent for big offices, there are a huge amount of opportunities to share offices and so on and so forth.
I think if I were a businessman, I would really be interested in all this support that the Swiss government with the different agencies putting in trying to promote the founding of new companies here in Switzerland.
Pragmatism and proximity is how I would sum it up. So the pragmatic collaborations are also how Swiss government regulations are looking at things very pragmatically. I think that's really a key strength of Switzerland and why international companies should consider Switzerland. And then, yeah, proximity. So it's a small country compared to the African continent. We're a little blimp here.
Thanks a lot to this thought. I would like to end up here and giving also you some insights. So we are 300 kilometers wide. We are 200 kilometers from north to south. We have no natural resources at all. All what we have is in our brain. And that's why we are looking so hard to bring the right talent in it, bring the right corporates in it to our ecosystems. It was a great pleasure to share this knowledge and these insights from Switzerland with you. Thanks.